Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to go through some of the basic skills or not basic skills, some of the skills for basic geometric terms and definitions, lesson 2.01. So first I want to talk about naming, lines, segments, rays, all that good stuff. So we have this figure below, and I don't know what type of figure it is just yet. It doesn't tell us. But looking at this, I don't see arrows on either end of this. So this is a line segment because it has those two distinct endpoints. So therefore, the symbol I am going to use is the bar. So I need the bar symbol above both of my names for this segment, and segments are always named by those endpoints. So I'm going to name this segment in two ways using the endpoints on this segment. So one of my endpoints is O and the other endpoint is F. So my two potential names for this segment would be O, F, and FO. And I believe I made an error in class with one of my classes, and I gave an example where we named a segment using that middle point. Segments, anything that has an endpoint, we want the endpoint to be a part of its name. So we have two endpoints here, so we will name the segment by those two endpoints. All right, let's name this figure. So this figure, I noticed does not have endpoints actually on either end. We just have arrows on both ends, which tells me that this is a line. And lines are nice because they can be named using any 2 points on the line. So I am just going to pick 2 points. I could do A and G. I'm going to do A and I. So our symbol here, since this is a line, our symbol needs to have the two arrows above it. So I am going to select the option that has the two arrows. And then I have lots of options here. I could do A, I. Make sure you're using capitals as well, because these are capital letters for the points. And then I'll do GI. Why not? So any 2 points in the lines. There are actually 6 ways we could have named this line based on the 3 points available. Okay, let's name this figure in 2 different ways. So this figure is not a line segment, although I see one endpoint here. We do have an arrow on the other end, closer to C. So P is an endpoint, C has the arrow going through it, towards it in the opposite direction. So this is a ray. Rays we will always name using either the right-facing arrow or the left-facing arrow. It can be done either way. However, whatever side has your endpoints, your endpoint needs to be above it or below it, I mean. So if we have the symbol where the arrowhead is going to the right, the endpoint then is on the left, so our endpoint of P should be on the left. It should be first. On the flip side, if the arrow is pointing the opposite way, when I write the name, our endpoint is still P, so P should be the second letter in our name. So if I'm using the left-facing arrow, P comes first because P is our endpoint, and then I would pick another point. So maybe I do PG, or I could do PC. If our arrow was pointing to the left, however, I need P to be the second letter. So I could do GP, or I could do CP. So hopefully you recognize the difference. They're kind of flipped where that endpoint is. I'm going to do the endpoint pointing to the right because that's the way I prefer it. So, not the endpoint, the arrow pointing to the right. And make sure you use capitals. So PG and PC are our two options, since the arrow has to be going to the right in both options. All right, let's look at another type of problem. So we are going to name the angle, the marked angle in two different ways. Angles are always named based on the vertex. So here's an angle. We have maybe point A. We have this vertex, this intersection point B, and then we could have point C. So B is our vertex. So this highlighted angle, this marked angle is not just angle G. G is what we call the vertex of this angle. So when I name this angle, that G needs to be the middle letter. So we name angles using 3 letters, with the vertex being the middle letter. And then the other sides need to be the angles, or not the angles, the points on the opposite sides of this vertex. So if we have the ray or the segment HG and the segment FG that come together to form this angle, I could name this angle HGF, or I could name this, starting the opposite end, FGH. Whichever way, as long as G is the middle letter, because that is our vertex. So I'm going to start with HGF, FGH. All right, let's do this one and then move on to a different section. So name the angle marked in 2 different ways. This problem here, I am going to be naming this angle, which has a vertex of I. So when I go to name this, the middle letter has to be the vertex, which is I. And then the rays that form this angle, one of them has an endpoint of G, and the other one has an endpoint of J. So this angle that is marked, I could write it as angle GIJ, keeping that vertex in the middle, or I could name it JIG. Again, keeping the vertex in the middle. JIH is a different angle, I will note. JIH, if I'm asked to find that angle, starting at J, I should be the vertex, and then H is a point on the other ray, so that would be this angle, not the one that is marked. So the angles that would work here would be GIJ and JIG. All right. The next thing you might have to name is a plane. And I just want to say that planes, we want to pick 3 points that are on the plane. And for these problems, you can tell what points are on the plane. They have this like dark blue outline that goes along the edge of the plane within the shape, within like the actual 3-dimensional shape. So I know that point L, point K, point F, and point E are all on this plane, whereas H or G or J or I, those aren't on that already like darker blue highlighted plane or line. Those are not a part of the plane that is being highlighted. So the plane that is being highlighted only involves what has that dark blue outline around it. So hopefully you can see that kind of straight path that goes in a parallelogram. So I can just pick 3 letters there. So I'm going to do LKF. I could do EFL. I could do any combination of the letters L, K, F, or E, as long as there's 3 of them. All right. I am going to make a separate video going over the parallel, perpendicular, skew, and all that stuff.